The Will of D. Now, throughout my journey on YouTube discussing One Piece, there's a big question. The Will of D. What is it? What mysteries lie with the Will of D? Now, there is jokes about the D. People say, yo, Mac, you be saying D too much. I'm telling you guys right now, we must find out what the meaning of D is in the One Piece story. So I thought I'd dive into it today in this video. It might be a long video, but I gotta dive into it and discuss what the Will of D I think it is. Now, the youngest known carrier of the D initial is Monkey D. Luffy, also known as Straw Hat Luffy. We know him as the main character of the One Piece story. His goal is to become Pirate King and find the One Piece, and he's definitely a very important character when talking about the Will of D. We also have Monkey D. Dragon, known as the most wanted man in the entire world, and I've been getting more hyped about Monkey D. Dragon and actually seeing his bounty be revealed, because we know that there's been some crazy bounties, like Jack was 1 billion, he's not even a Yonko. So Dragon, who's said to have probably the highest bounty, most likely, since he's the most wanted man. I can't wait to see the number. What's the bounty gonna be? We know he's the leader of the Revolutionary Army. He's going directly against the world government, the only man to do that, and he's the father of the main character. Monkey D. Luffy's father is Monkey D. Dragon. So I'm definitely excited to see his powers, and he's definitely a very important character when talking about the initial and Will of D. Monkey D. Garp, also known as Garp the Hero. And I've said this many times, Garp is the only D member, or well, he's one of the 2 D members who were a part of the Marines, and it shows you that Gorosei don't really mind a D member working for them. So that was very intriguing for me personally. We also know he chased Gol D Roger, another D, for a long time, the Pirate King, and those years of Garp going at it with Gol D Roger, they both almost killed each other multiple times. We know he's the grandfather of Monkey D. Luffy, another D, and the father of Monkey D. Dragon, another D. So there's the whole monkey family. You see Monkey D family. Marshall DT. This is another one of the famous Ds. He's also known as Blackbeard. Yes, people have been saying that Blackbeard is the final villain in the One Piece story. We know his past. He used to be under Whitebeard, one of the former Yonkos, and his prime, the only guy to be equal to Gol D Roger, which was said in the story. We know that he went from being under Whitebeard to being a warlord to being a Yonko, yes, and being one of the only men to have ever had 2 Devil Fruits. We know his goals, like Luffy trying to become Pirate King, and we've seen the moments at Jaya, a man's dream never dies, and Impel Down, Sky Island existed, right? It's the same for One Piece. Blackbeard definitely is a dream chaser, and I can't wait to see, and I feel like he's a very, very, very important character when discussing the D and Will of D. Trafalgar Law, yes, Trafalgar Wattel D Law. I don't care how you say it. I've been struggling to say Law's name forever. He's also known as the Surgeon of Death. We know him as one of the most best doctors right now in the One Piece world, and he's also the pirate captain of the pirate crew. So we know that Law is definitely a very pivotal character, and he's a rival to Luffy as one of the worst generation members. Definitely a rival to Luffy. He's in an alliance with Luffy right now, and he's the only survivor of Malevolence, which we saw that catastrophe, and we know there's gonna be a big stuff revolving around Trafalgar Law and the Will of D especially. Gol D Roger, also known as Gol D Roger, also known as the Pirate King, the only Pirate King. He left his treasure One Piece. Yes, the whole story is named after his treasure One Piece, and started the greatest pirate era. I can't wait to see what he found out because we know Gol D Roger knows what the Will of D is, so I can't wait to see what he found out and how he found out what the Will of D is, and when it's also revealed to us, who knows, it might even break everyone's ankles, because my theory, I think it might be wrong, because Gol D Roger, he has the actual facts. Portgas D Ace, another member of the Will of D, also known as Fire Fist Ace. He's the former 2nd Division commander of Whitebeard. Yeah, we know it's not really a big spoiler because a lot of people have passed this moment. He was killed by the man known as Akainu, the fleet admiral as of now. And we know a big thing was the announcement of Ace being the son of Gol D Roger, which is very crazy because Gol D Roger is the Pirate King. It just elevated Ace's status, and we know he's also the brother of Monkey D. Luffy. So you see a lot of these D's have a connection towards each other, and it's crazy. Portgas D Rouge. We really didn't get a lot on Portgas D Rouge, but if you want some basic info, she is the lover to Gol D Roger, the mother of Portgas D Ace, and I gotta say, that's motherly love, Everybody respect your mama, because what she did, 18 months carrying Ace, pretty much giving up her life. You gotta give that respect to Portgas D Rouge. You definitely gotta respect your own mama if you're watching this video. Mama, I love you. Jaguar D Saul, the only giant member, a part of the D. For like, let's be honest here, he's a former vice admiral. Like I talked about Garp, he's also a guy who used to be part of the Marines, and he was killed by Aokiji, and he's a big friend of Robin's. Yes, when I say big, I mean figuratively and literally a big friend of Robin. So I definitely feel like he's really a pivotal character when talking about the D when it comes to the giants, because the fact that a giant has the D initial is crazy. I also want to say this, I gotta respect to that laugh, yo. Dere she. Now that we have the basics out of the way, let's talk about some few things I want to talk about. First of all, an interview with the man who created One Piece, Ichiro Oda, and he was pretty much asking, what does the D mean? Yes, they pretty much asked Oda right away, what does it mean? And Oda pretty much said, in the future, I will tell you everything about the initial, the letter D. So I'm excited to see when we're going to get it. It's probably most likely to be more towards the end of the series, but it's going to be epic when we get it revealed. Dr. Kureha. Yes, you're probably thinking, why am I mentioning Dr. Kureha? She's actually the first person to mention the will of D. And I'll be honest here, when I saw that the second time, it gave me goosebumps. Because the first time I'm not really that interested, but the second time when you're going through the series, it gives you goosebumps. She's pretty much, I think, 142 years old right now. She's one of the oldest characters in One Piece, and she probably has a lot of history when it comes to the initial D. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen in her flashback, because, you know, she said Chopper teamed up with a very dangerous man, obviously talking about Luffy. So it's gonna be an epic moment when you find out more about the will of D and Dr. Kureha's role in the finding out of the will of D. Nico Robin has mentioned the initial D 3 times. Yes, a big whopping 3 times. The first time she mentioned the initial D was obviously, if you did not know, during the Alabasta arc. Yes, she was interested during the Alabasta arc. Another time she also mentioned this was talking to Gonfell about Gol D Roger, when Gol D Roger and Monkey D. Luffy's name were compared. She talked about Gonfell with that. And also, again, talking to Saul D. Jaguar, or Jaguar D. Saul, I apologize, when she was younger. She's like, what does the D mean? And he's like, I don't know, it's always been there. So we definitely know there's a lot of questions. A lot of people have been questioning what the initial D is. In this video, I'll try to answer it. If you did not know, Whitebeard actually knows what the initial D is. I think you should know because it was in the arc of Marineford in his mini flashback when he's about to die. We see Whitebeard, he talks about his history with Gol D Roger. They're meeting up, and Gol D Roger's like, you want to know where Raftel is? And he's like, nah, I don't have no interest in becoming Pirate King. So it shows you that Whitebeard didn't care about that. And Roger's like, okay, I can tell you about the will of D. Whitebeard's like, yes, I have a guy on my crew with the initial D. Obviously talking about Marshall D. Teach Blackbeard. So Whitebeard does know what the D is, and it's crazy because during Marineford War, it definitely gives you an aspect of Whitebeard knows the truth, yo. He knows the truth about the will of D, so it's crazy. We know the character recently in the Dressrosa arc, Corazon, he pretty much talked about the D and said it was the natural enemies to the Celestial Dragons. We know Celestial Dragons are Mary Jawad, the people who pretty much we believe have a very important role in the Void Century because they are the winners of the world government. Also, I want to say this, the D was a tactic used to scare kids on Mary Jawad, the holy land of their people, Celestial Dragons. Yeah, I'm telling you right now, yo, they really despise the initial D. I can't wait to see the flashback revolving around these Celestial Dragons and the will of D. Gol D Roger. I want to talk about Gol D Roger for a second here, and many other characters. We know that Gol D Roger was known. He was famous to smile at his death when he was executed by the world government. It's a very famous moment as he definitely started the new era of pirates and telling that his One Piece, yo, go and find it. I left it all in one place, yo, Raftel. So Gol D Roger, he was smiling at his death. A very interesting fact. You know who another character who was smiling at his death? Monkey D. Luffy. Okay, he did not die, but he was about to die by Buggy, and right before he was about to die, he actually smiled, and this was during lockdown. And you know what this shocked? This shocked the character known as Smoker. Smoker was shocked because he saw Gol D Roger's execution, and seeing that Luffy shared that same trait of smiling before the execution, he was shook. Jaguar D Saul was seen to be laughing at his death when Aokiji killed him, when he froze him. Dere she. And it's crazy because we know that during that moment he was telling Robin, you're gonna find friends, you're gonna do it, so don't ever be down on it, have patience. So I definitely want to say Jaguar D Saul, he was also shown to be smiling at his death. You see a similar trait now. Portgas D Rouge was also, yes, another character seen smiling at the point of their death. And I want to say this, Portgas D Ace, maybe she was smiling because Ace was there, and like it was a big moment for him being born. We know she carried Ace for 18 months, or it could be the similarity with all these guys who are carrying the initial D. It could be related to that. Ace, yes, one of the most saddest moments in One Piece when Ace passed away. We know he was smiling. Now, a lot of people say he was just smiling because his dream was fulfilled. He said to tell everyone that thank you for loving him. You know, he never felt loved, and that dream was fulfilled. So definitely Ace was smiling. I definitely feel like all these carriers of the D's are smiling. It has to have some sort of similarity. Yo, this is too eerie. But a character that was not smiling at the moment on which they seemed to be facing death, and that was Blackbeard. And Blackbeard is like the black sheep, no pun intended, in these family of D's, the people of the D. And it's really so shocking because Blackbeard does not seem like a fearful man. Yo, he has shown a lot of bravery in moments, but that moment when he saw his life getting to be taken, he was not smiling. Yo, he was definitely begging Whitebeard to save him. So it shows that Blackbeard is a different person amongst the D class. Now we do know versus Ace, he was definitely not afraid, but I feel like Ace, it wasn't really a point in which he thought he was gonna die. With Whitebeard, it was more of him being shook. So you see the difference there. Also want to say this: the Trafalgar Wattel D Law family, yeah, they were hiding the fact that they were a part of the Willa D, they're part of the D family. So it's crazy because if they're hiding that, if they're scared for people to find out that they're part of that family, the truth must be scary. So I definitely gotta say, yo, when it gets revealed in the story, it's gonna be very gruesome. We know the world government is desperate in hiding the world Void Century. They want to hide it so badly, and anybody who researches or looks into the Void Century is pretty much an enemy to the world government. We saw the tragedy of the O'Hara people. So when we find out the world government, the Willa D, the Void Century, the past, the Void Century, that 100 years, that's when it's gonna get very, very crazy. Now, me personally, this is where my theory comes. I do not believe any D is related by blood. When I mean D, I'm not talking about like Monkey D. Luffy to Monkey D. Drake. I'm talking about the Monkey family. I feel like Monkey D. Luffy and Portgas D. Roger is not related. I feel like they're not related by blood, but they go back to a certain group. Another reason why I believe they are not related by blood is because we know there's a giant in the Will of D. If there's a giant in the Will of D, then they cannot all be related, because giants don't go back to that level of human unless there is someone who's making humans turn to giants. And Jaguar D. Saw is really a human, regular human. Who knows? But I do not believe they are related by blood. I believe that during the Void Century, there were people known as regular people like Monkey, we don't know the first name, Monkey, Trafalgar, Portgas, Jaguar, Marshall, and I believe that all these were known later as families. Monkey D family, the Trafalgar D family, the Portgas D family. But the initial people with that name were not known as family. They were just a group of people that came together and used the initial D to separate themselves from others. I said they came together because I feel like they are a fighting group. I feel like they were fighting the rest of the world. If you did not know, the ancient kingdom were destroyed by the 20 kingdoms, aka the world government, and I feel like that's going to be a huge part when talking about the Void Century and Will of D. I also believe that Joy Boy was a part of the Will of D, and he might have been the leader of this group. It would be crazy if he's the leader of this group and he's the only one who has no descendant at this time. There's going to be no Joy D something, so I believe that's going to be crazy, and it's going to be epic when he finally found out what's the whole deal of the Will of D. In this battle between the ancient kingdom or the Will of D family, the Will of D group, I don't think they're blood related, the Will of D group versus the ancient kingdom, the Celestial Dragons, the world government, I feel like the Will of D were winning. They were winning in this battle. It had to do a lot of Delph fruits. It had to do a lot of hockey. They were winning in this battle, even ancient weapons. But out of nowhere, somebody betrays the D, and it came from the inside. I believe the betrayer was Marshall D. Yes, the Marshall D person at that time, because we know that Marshall D Teach was separate. I brought up the whole smiling thing. I feel like that's definitely something that Oda's trying to showcase, and I feel like it's gonna be epic because Whitebeard said, Gol D Roger is not waiting for you. Whitebeard knows the truth of the Will of D, so it's gonna be epic when we see that if Marshall D was the person who betrayed everyone during that time. We know that the Alabasta Kingdom, the Neftari Kingdom, the king, I feel like he felt guilty for what they did. There's some very horrible, gruesome things that the ancient kingdom did, the 20 kingdoms did to defeat the ancient kingdom of the Will of D. So it's gonna be a gruesome flashback, and when we see it, it's gonna be definitely for the older audience. It's gonna be crazy. We know the Gorosei are very fearful of the initial D. I talked about this. People have been making theories. Jewelry Bonnie, How did they, were the Gorosei there at that time? Have they been keeping their life the whole time for that 1,000 years? If that is a reason, I can't wait to see the explanation. The Gorosei are like 1,000 years old, but we know the Gorosei themselves, it feels like they actually were there during the time of the Void Century, because they really do want to hide this. We saw the situation at Ohara when Professor Oakley, was talking about the situation of the Will of D and the Void Century, and then the Gorosei were like, kill him, yo. They didn't give no F's, yo. They said kill him. We know Roger had an illness, and Roger found out the whole truth of the world when he went to Raftail, when he found out the One Piece, and I feel like he was so angry. He wanted to go against the world government, but after, like, he couldn't do anything because of his illness, so he decided to make a new era of pirates, and that's what Wiper said, you're not the man that Roger's waiting for. Roger's waiting for a pirate or someone to go to find the One Piece and actually find the truth and overcome anything that happens to him, no illness or nothing like that, and actually go against the world government. Wiper said there's going to be a huge war after the One Piece is found. Luffy's going to be that man. Yes, I say Luffy is going to be the man who will lead the D at this time, this era, and he's going to go with Poseidon, yo. We know Shirahoshi and him are good friends. That's going to help him, and I feel like taking over is going to be crazy. The world government is going to be overturned. Who knows? Kobe and Luffy might have their fight at this moment after he finds the One Piece. I'm not too sure, but Whitebeard words, there's going to be a huge war after the One Piece is found. We know Oda hyped up the final war, saying it's going to be making the Marineford look like filler, so I'm so excited. Tell me your thoughts in the comment section. Like and share if you enjoyed, like and share only if you enjoyed, and subscribe for more One Piece content. I'm the Legend Mac, and I'm gone.